So we did a segment in our last show about Biden's approval rating dropping by a very significant 11 points among Democratic voters. So his approval rating now down to 75% within his own party. However, this makes that look like nothing. This is the most amazing drop in support over this short a period of time that I and many people have ever seen. This is Time Magazine. Biden's Gaza stance spurs stunning drop in Arab American support. Palestinian and Arab Americans have expressed outrage over Biden's response to Israel's bombardment of Gaza, which has killed more than 8,000 people, more than a quarter of them children. It's actually more than a third. It's up to over 3,000, over 3,000. The first national poll of Arab Americans since the war in Gaza began shows how deep that sense of betrayal goes, with only 17% of Arab American voters saying they will vote for Biden in 2024, a staggering drop from 59% in 2020. That is a 42% drop, not in people who approve of Joe Biden, right? Because saying, do you approve of Joe Biden is different from saying, will you vote for Joe Biden? There are a lot of people who don't approve of Biden, but who vote lesser evil. This is people saying they will not vote for Joe Biden. So only 17% of Arab Americans say they will vote for Joe Biden in 2024, down from 59% last time. Quote, this is the most dramatic shift over the shortest period of time that I've ever seen. James Zogby, the founder and president of the Arab American Institute, which released the poll on Tuesday, tells Time Magazine. The damage isn't limited to Biden. Just 23% of Arab Americans identify with the Democratic Party, marking the first time a majority did not claim to prefer the Democrats since the Institute began tracking party identification in 1996. So they've never been under 50 with Arabs, and now they're at 23. Those identifying as independents rose to 31%, the highest it's ever been. The poll results are likely to increase concerns among Democrats among Biden's standing with Arab Americans heading into 2024, particularly in Michigan, where roughly 277,000 Arab Americans call home, and Biden won in 2020 by 155,000 votes. But the smaller Arab American populations in Pennsylvania and Georgia were also larger than Biden's margins of victory there. All three states are ones Biden flipped after Trump won them in 2016. This is later in the article. Even though 2024 appears likely to present a rematch between Biden and Trump, Arab Americans insist Biden cannot take their support for granted. None of those who spoke with Time say that their lack of confidence in Biden means that they'll be inclined to vote for Trump, but some remain conflicted about whether the situation would be any worse under the former president either. Look, we're not silly. We know what Trump has done to our communities, says Amirzar, the president of the Dearborn-based New Generation for Palestine. But when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, he continues, quote, the policies are basically the same, except when Trump does it, you get some pushback from the Democratic Party.
And the media.
And the media. And the media. Exactly. The difference between Biden and Trump on this is the same as the difference on the southern border. It's how do we emotionally process the horror of what's going on. On the border, Trump says, kick them out, deport them, fuck them, it's our country. Biden says, well, we love them, we respect them, but we have to kick them out, right? Same thing here. Under Biden, it's we really should send aid to these people to shame what's happening to them, but we have to support Israel. And under Trump, it's we will make no apologies for supporting Israel. It's all about emotional processing. There's no actual material difference between Biden and Trump, Democrats or Republicans, and that is a stunning and seismic drop from 59 to 17, from over 50% party affiliation with Democrats to 23. That's unheard of. You never see trends like that
No,
in politics ever. I've been reading political polls religiously for 15 years. My love of politics is born of my love for baseball. Baseball is a game of numbers, a million different stats that you balance and weigh against each other. Politics is the same way. I've read thousands of polls in my life. I have never seen, and neither has James Zogby, a very famous pollster, obviously. I have never seen anything approaching that kind of shift over such a short period of time.
Well, and this is where the problem with the fact that there are no Biden supporters, there are Biden tolerators, really comes into play. Because when you have no base, you have nobody who's excited about you. Nobody's ever been excited about you. As soon as you make a move that people don't like, there's nothing to stop your poll numbers from just completely imploding. There's nothing to hold you up because nobody has any feelings towards you to begin with, right? There's no, I don't like what he's doing here. People will make up stories in their head. You see the way they do it with Trump, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, the Q thing was just like that phenomena on steroids. You see, he's just playing along right now.
Right, but he's gonna
what he's really going to do is, right. I mean, it's that. Everybody does that with their political heroes. They make these excuses. But when nobody likes you to begin with, there's nobody trying to put the best possible face on your actions. Oh, his hands are tied by this. I'm sure he really wants to do this. You have to give him a little room and put pressure on him, hold his feet to the fire, and he'll see sense, right? Nobody says that about Joe Biden because he has no base. This is a case where increasingly it looks like the Republican is just going to win because if you are a Republican, you have choices that you like. Right? There are people who, most of those Trump supporters, with some exceptions, suppose Trump has a heart attack tomorrow, right? They'll be happy with DeSantis. You know, any antagonism is only because he's running against Trump. It's not that they really have a problem with DeSantis. And a lot of them enthusiastically like him, if you look at the polling. Like, he's not negative with the Republicans. He's not negative with that party. Whereas Biden, I mean, nobody likes him. So you're looking at a case where, you know, the Republicans just win by default, which, I mean, in a lot of respects, I feel is what happened in 2016. I never felt Trump won the election. I always felt Hillary lost it.
Well, the other thing that people have to keep in mind here is that going into this election, the Democrats had everything working against them to begin with. People feel terrible about their economic situation. You have people living in their cars just as a lifestyle choice. People who could probably technically afford an apartment, but it's so fucking expensive. People are like, fuck it, I'll live in my car. You have parking lots are repurposing themselves to accommodate people who live in cars, right? So when things are this dystopian on the domestic front and the tide has so turned against the incumbent party where every single poll you see, right track, wrong track, satisfaction with the economy, satisfaction in leadership, competency for the job. Obviously, most Americans feel that Biden is just inherently not up to the job. With all of these factors working against you, you as Joe Biden cannot afford another blow to your coalition. And that's what this Israel war has been. It's been another blow to the coalition. You can't, on top of everything working against you already, have the Arabs jump ship as dramatically as they have, and they will. I was at that Free Palestine rally in Troy the other night. Nobody at that crowd was going to vote for Joe Biden. They were chanting, fuck Joe Biden. It sounded like a Trump rally for a second. Everyone was chanting, fuck Joe Biden. He blew, I mean,
not even let's go, Brandon.
Not even let's go. No, the uncensored version. No, I mean, that's it. Like, this is it for him. This is it for him. This is the thing you could not afford to have happen. You cannot afford for another core Democratic voting, not voting bloc, but another constituency that leans Democrat. You cannot afford to have that coalition just shattered in the way that this has. And look, what the guy, I forget his name here, I'll bring it back up again. What's his name? Amir Czar. What he said is true. He says, look, we're under no illusions that Trump is going to be any better.
Right.
But we might at least have a more organized opposition. and it won't be anything worse. And even if you don't want to look at it that pragmatically by saying, well, if Trump gets in, the Democrats will be more organized, because we know what that looks like. It's bullshit. That's how you get women's marches and all this nonsense, right? At a certain point, you have to say, look, we are not.
What would a pussy hat for Palestine rally look like?
Right, exactly. That might be good. If anybody wants to jump the gun on that and get printing those, those might be big sellers in a couple years. At a certain point, though, you just have to say, listen, this is the red line. Like, we will not, no matter what the consequences are, we will not vote for a candidate or a party that signs off on genocide. We will not. We cannot. Because what these guys here are starting to notice is what we've been saying since 2016, is if you establish no standards and you establish that there is no red line, you will get trampled every time. You'll get trampled every time. And so you just have to say, no matter what the consequences are, don't call us an accelerationist. Don't ask what our strategy is. It's as simple as principle. We will not support a candidate or a party that signs off on the mass slaughter of a civilian population, as Joe Biden has, as Donald Trump no doubt will, as RFK no doubt will, should he pull a miracle. We are not doing that. You have to define your movements on certain terms. This is as basic as it gets. Absolutely no way in hell will we support any candidate or party that signs off on this.
Please clap.